An update now on the ongoing violence in Venezuela. Members of the National Guard broke up 4 camps where student protesters were stationed this morning, arresting nearly 250 people. It all happened in this early morning raid. Those camps consisted of small tents, and they've been used by these protesters for more than a month now. This latest action by President Nicolas Maduro's government is why many Venezuelans right here in South Florida are asking our government, the American government, to do more. Dozens of protesters are on their way to Washington, D.C. right now to protest outside of the White House. They plan on doing that tomorrow. And along for the ride is Local 10 News reporter Carlos Suarez. He's joining us live now from that bus with those protesters. And Carlos, I understand you've had a front row seat, but now you're standing right there in the middle, really getting to feel what's going on.
Hey, Jen, what's going on? Listen, I'm on one of 3 buses that are making its way to Washington, D.C., to our nation's capital, to basically raise awareness about the situation going on in Venezuela. Right now, I'm joined by about 60 or so Venezuelans. Everyone's chanting. They've got their Venezuelan pride on. All of this really is in a spirit of solidarity. They're trying to get the word out about the situation that is going on in Venezuela. Now, earlier this morning, everyone gathered in Doral. Basically, we hit the road a little bit before 9 this morning. And what they're trying to do is go on this journey with about 150 other people on board those 2 other buses. They all gathered, and then this is really an eager and determined group. Many of them boarded the bus last year to New Orleans in order to vote in the presidential election. Now, we're scheduled to arrive in Washington around 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Everyone will make their way to the Capitol for a meeting with Congresswoman Ileana Ross-Layton, and she's expected to touch on a bill that calls for a round of economic sanctions against the Venezuelan government. Now, afterwards, everyone heads over to the White House for a protest, as well as a demonstration outside of the Organization of American States. That's a governing body, rather, in Latin America that has called for dialogue between the government there and the leading opposition group, but they've stopped short of getting involved in the crisis. Now, news of this morning's students' arrest spread through social media on the bus here. Folks got word of the roundup on Facebook and Twitter. The purpose of this trip is to lobby lawmakers for sanctions, making its way through at least, or a bill rather, that's making its way through both chambers. Now, in an op-ed, Republican Senator Marco Rubio said the time to act is here. Now, quote, he said, is the time for meaningful action to help the Venezuelan people hold accountable the Maduro regime, murderers and thugs who are responsible for the violence. Now is the time to stand with the Venezuelan people and increase pressure to the Maduro regime. Now, we've got a great opportunity to not only be on this bus. We're one of 3. We're on the first round of the bus. But I want to go ahead and talk to one of the organizers of the event out here, Freddie. You got up early this morning, 6 a.m. Everyone's excited. Everyone's so happy to be here. What's it like for you?
We are right now 1,000 Venezuelan American citizens going to Washington, D.C. We fight for the liberty, and we need the American citizens support the situation in Venezuela. Right now we are going to the Congress, and we're still in the Congress for about 2 hours. This travel is still in 24 hours. And when we go to Washington, we are still 2 hours in the Congress, 2 hours in the White House, and 2 hours in the Organization of States of America. And we try to support the resolution about the sanction for the dictatorship in Venezuela.
And a lot of people excited. We're going to be picking up a couple more people in Orlando. We're also going to be picking up some people in Georgia.
Yeah, right now it's around 39 cities. It's around 79 states support this protest. And in Washington, it's around maybe 500 people in Washington, D.C.
Awesome. Freddie, thank you so much, guys. One more time, if you want to applause as we make our way to Washington, D.C. We're going to be along for the entire ride. We have much more coming up at 4 and 5 and 6 o'clock. Again, we're about an hour south of Orlando. Once we get to Orlando, we're going to pick up about a dozen other people, and then we're going to make another stop in Savannah, Georgia, before we get to Washington in D.C. But for now, we're live on board quite an energetic bus on our way to the nation's capital. I'm Carlos Suarez, Local 10 News.
Energetic indeed and on a mission. Carlos, safe travels to you and everybody on board. As Carlos mentioned, he will be reporting throughout the day during this entire trip to D.C. and during the protest at the White House that starts tomorrow. For minute-to-minute coverage, including pictures, photos, and interviews with activists, head to our website at local10.com.